Hello, testing. Want to make sure everything's working. Just to give you guys an update on what we've been working on. This is the finished, pretty much, model of the Firebat. Still trying to figure out what to do with it and how to post it. I think I'm going to put it on Makeworld eventually. Um, we'll see. The main difficulty with this part or with this model is that I really truly believe that you need an H2D to print it well. Mainly because an integral part of that is using dual materials on it. What you need to do is you need to, on the model, be able to print um, PETG pegs, and they're print in place. I can switch to the top-down camera. So these PETG pegs that are print in place, that's a key component. Got to try and figure out a workaround on that to see if there is a way to get the whole model to work properly without the print in place pegs. The reason why it's a big issue is that if you print on a single nozzle, like an H2S or a Creality or any other brands that only uses a single nozzle, what happens is you're pushing PLA and PETG through the same nozzle, and when you do that, the when if you don't have enough flushing volume, and I honestly think you need a ton of flushing volume to make it to clear it. If you don't get that flushing volume proper, what happens is that you contaminate your PLA, and then your PLA becomes super brittle, and then you're gonna get failures all over the place. The reason why I know that is because the first time I printed this, I tried to print it in multicolor because I wanted this part here and the wheels and all the landing gear and the cannons on it all to be printed in black and the rest of it in red. So I actually set it up so that I had multicolor and multi-material in the same print. But when I did that, I set up the PETG and I think it was the black in one nozzle and then the red in the other nozzle of the of the H2D. When I did that, all of my all of my PETG and black layers ended up being super brittle, and the supports all failed, and they started to fall apart. I had this whole area here, the back exhaust also was originally in black, and that failed as well. It just shattered, and it wouldn't hold. So in the end, I'm pretty conclusive that that's a major issue with trying to do that. What it would have been really awesome is if I had an H2C. If you have an H2C, I'm pretty sure you could print this multicolor, multi-material, and everything would come out really nice. Regardless, with even with all those issues, I think it still came out really well. On an H2D, it comes out spectacular. There's really very few issues with it. The shapes all came out really nice. The layers came out really nice. Uh, you will notice that it is colored. That's all paint. Paint markers. I believe I got the paint markers. I just got some cheap Amazon acrylic paint markers here, and I went over the model with that. The missiles and the bombs are all removable. They all stay on really well. You can invert, you can shake it. It doesn't come loose. The magnets work really well. One of the other features that I have on there is the intake covers can be taken off. They're magnetized here and here, and then on there and there. So then you can just snap them on. So it retains that original play feature of the original toy. The engine is visible. I did paint it a little bit to give it a little bit more character. The canopy is made out of PETG clear. I know a lot of people seem to like it. They're wondering how I did it. Honestly, I didn't do anything all that special. The only thing that I did was I basically printed it like a vase. So it's PETG, but it's like one layer thick. Around the rim, I thickened it up a little bit to give it a little bit more structure. There is a magnet on the top. Originally, I wanted this so that there is multiple magnets on the inside to prop it up or prop it closed. Didn't really work as well. The magnets don't seem to work very well in shear as they do perpendicular to each other. So that end magnet and this magnet here create a latch, and then it stays, doesn't come loose. So that's good. In here, the figure fits. Figures with any kind of armor or any kind of excess material other than stock end up being tight, actually very tight. So you can see this Viper fits. From there, I have a console here. Inside, you can pull out the chair. The chair comes loose. I made a feature where you can have storage behind the chair for any accessories. And then inside here, I made it so that the engine, you can actually take this apart. These become practical because you can actually take the engine, you can slide it forward, and you can actually remove the engine as well. So one of the complaints that I saw on online was that, you know, the motor has all this detail. Mind you, mine's basically a clone of it, but like you can never really see it all that well while it's in there. So I made it removable, put a magnet on it to secure it. So you can actually remove it, you can change it, do whatever. And then it plugs back in, slides back through. It's a little bit of a snug fit, like I said. Oh, a little bit stuck. So fits in. Oh, the magnets came loose. I should glue those in a little bit better. Oh, that's the wrong side. There we go. That fits in there. This fits back in here. That closes. This goes in. That snaps in. And then there you go. Again, the focus on this was modeling it so that it had smooth lines. There's no protruding hinges anywhere. This preserves the smooth lines here. The wing is an actual airfoil shape, and it is not flat. It's not drooping. It actually does have a little bit of a dihedral to it, which means it's like sloping a little bit. So it looks good for the most part. Again, fairly happy with it. I probably could, any more adjustments that I do to it are probably printing adjustments. I did have a flaw here. This actually wasn't a flaw in the model. It was when I put it through the slicer. The slicer neglected to put supports on this back portion of the wing for some reason, and that just made that small area fail. I'm not sure if it's worth reprinting the whole thing right now because it's a known issue for me. So I'm not gonna bother reprinting it as such. But yeah. So that project for me is done. Like I said, trying to figure out how to do the distribution of it if people are interested in the model. Like I said, I might put it on Maker World. The problem with that again is that realistically very few people are going to be able to print this unless I figure out how to get that PETG hinge out but still maintain the quality that I want out of the model. So, going back, this is what I've got so far on the model. I think people have seen this ad nauseum at this point. It is, I've pretty much detailed it out as much as possible online through posts. Um, and yeah, it is what it is. Moving on, I started posting that I'm working on the um, helicopter, which is going to be the new thing right now for me. Trying to figure that out. I've on attempt number 4 to try and get the body um, complete. Again, that's I was gonna do sort of a streaming as I model situation, but the very beginning of doing this is very frustrating to say the least. So I'll walk you through what I've done so far, and people can see what I've done. So when I went out and started looking for reference, there is a ton of reference for this helicopter, but the reference is none of it's design worthy. It's all sort of little pictures or off angle pictures of live things or models that people have already done, but I don't want to use that as reference. I want to try and get as close to real reference as possible for the most part, or at least originally that was the intent. So I gathered a bunch of that. Really couldn't find a lot. The best thing I could find off of it was some forum on Facebook of people who own these types of helicopters, and there was some reference there on it. So this reference that I got, shut that model off. The reference I got was this one, which is actually something that I think somebody posted on one of my things where I think somebody's looking for this V-shaped tail because of this is an older type of helicopter. So I was gonna sort of start modeling on this one, but even though the proportions are like more realistic and it looks cool, it's not the tactical one that I wanted. The main thing that's different is the tail section. I think the rest of it's basically the same shape, but I wanted something, like I said, a little bit more modern. And the fact is that it's going to be a 1/12th scale model, or not scale model, but 1/12th scale toy, basically. So, did I really need to make it, accurate or as accurate as possible? Proportionally wise, it's not going to work super well. It still needs to fit a 1/12th figure in it. And then, inch for inch, does it really need to match? I ended up with the decision that no, it probably doesn't. It needs to sort of hold the spirit of the vehicle, but not, it doesn't need to be flight worthy. So these are the first references I got. I got a side, I got a front, and then I got a top reference, which were good. Something to start with. I didn't know what to do with the tail. I wasn't really sure. So then I started looking out for some more reference. I ended up just going on to, I think it was the Google's version of whatever image generation, and then I made another set of reference images. So I made these reference images using Google. Now the proportions are different. They're a little squat, but I don't know. I seem to like it a little bit more for some reason. I don't know why. It just something in it was a little bit more appealing to me to do. But there's some serious caveats with it. One is you can see like here it's there's like Gatling guns on either side, but when you go to this view, they're like rocket clusters, and then the Gatling gun is called a FLIR sensor turret, which is actually this thing. Um, there's a lot of inaccuracies, but I mean that's AI for you. AI doesn't understand what it's doing; it's just sort of regurgitating what the algorithm tells it to do. So there's some serious flaws with it, but the general shape is something that okay, I can live with. The other thing is the scale is a little bit wonky too, because the analog humans that they have here and here, they're nowhere close to scale of what I've been seeing. Um, from bottom to top up here, it's supposed to be like 9 or 10 feet. So like this body here is probably nowhere close to proportioned. So 9 to 10 feet there. I mean, you're looking at the top of the person's head is somewhere around here from standing. It doesn't look right. Um, so then I had to scale everything to try and make a judgment on like who's gonna fit and how. I ended up taking a figure and then trying to sort of figure out how many millimeters tall this is going to be, how many millimeters long it's going to be, to scale the image to a point where I can probably very, very snugly fit a figure in this um, half and then the other half. But it's going to be big in the end. So had a real struggle with doing that. This actually took probably the longest time. It took longer to figure this out than it did for the Firebat by a long shot. So with these images, and again, the images don't line up perfectly. Stuff is a little bit wonky, but that's the challenge of it. So I put them all together, scaled them as I saw fit, tried to get them to look appropriate. From there, then the modeling started. And I seriously had some issues with the modeling as well. So, like I said at the very beginning of this, I am on attempt number 4 to get the egg shape correct. So, the first time I did the egg shape, and I posted this, I did this one here. It's in red. So what I did with this one is I punched in length and this and that, and then I did a side sketch. So I sketched out what I thought were all the constraints around the entire model, which it is what it is. But then I looked at it and I was like, I have to put in features, and then I try to think ahead to what are going to be the modeling difficulties of this model. So one of the difficulties will be the glass here, here, and here, and keeping those in good shape, and making sure that they're the right shape, because that's a key feature to the look of the craft. So I wanted to make sure that's correct. Another issue that I had was the doors, whether I want to make them opening closing doors or just remove them altogether. That was a factor. And then trying to make them line up in the proper spots, both on the front face, the side face, and the top. You can see each of those. You can see part of the door here, part of the door here. The glass has a certain shape here. I'm not even sure if that shape of that glass is actually correct, because this is an AI image, which is why I retained the reference image from the actual, so I can refer back to this image and see if that's close, and then it kind of looks a little bit close. close that. Oops. So there's that to contend with, to try and get that to line. So this was the first attempt. Now I looked at it, and the main issue that I had, and why I kind of abandoned this one, is because when I did the lofts to get the egg shape, and you can see the egg shape here, I had this line right down the middle. Now, the problem with that is that when I go to make this glass here, it's gonna have this line here. It won't be there again when it's printed, but the thing is that it's gonna make modeling this a real pain. And it's not contiguous. It's gonna make modeling a mathematical problem when you're cutting through sections. It never goes well. One of the key things for modeling is that you want the math in the model to be as simple as possible. So you need to try, especially surfacing, you want the surfacing to be simple and clean. And this was neither simple nor was it clean, because it had all these different sections. I cut it in different ways to try and make it fit, and it just didn't feel right. Like, I'm figuring it's gonna have all kinds of problems, like this, this partition line's breaking up these two pieces. This, what's gonna be this glass. I'm gonna draw this door. It's gonna be cut down the middle here. It's not gonna look good. And to illustrate it a little bit better, is that there's a feature inside Onshape. There's a feature, again, this feature exists in a lot of the different modeling programs, is zebra striping. And you can see kind of the issue with zebra striping. So right away, you can see the transition between this surface and this surface looks okay, because the stripes are all continuous and there's no real disruption. So when I rotate around, it looks like it's one surface. But as soon as I cross this plane here, you can see it doesn't look right. This is definitely at a different angle than this. Like, it doesn't flow. So I'm gonna have problems. So right off the get-go, I wasn't happy with this, and I just basically abandoned it. And I said, nah, it's not worth putting in extra time to get further down the road and have it just fail. So abandon that. Then I tried surfacing a different way. So what I tried to do was I tried to surface using, I made extrusions out of the edge on the opposite side of the drawing. Again, some of this won't make sense to some of you. But on the opposite side of the drawing, so I could actually sort of go tangentially into this, so that when you look at a sphere, right, the curvature going into the mirror plane and coming out of the mirror plane is basically perpendicular to that surface. So it's always going to come in so that it's matches up. Now the problem is that if you don't come in, and you don't come in square like that, and you come in like that, it's going to look more like a fish. It's going to come out peaked, and it's not going to look right. So I looked at a bunch of tutorials, and they're saying, oh, we'll do this, and you'll get, it'll come in, you can match tangents, all this other stuff. Tried that. So then I end up with these surfaces here, and where's the other one? Here. And then the thing I did different is that, knowing that I wanted to preserve the curvature around the glass, I actually, instead of putting this sectioning plane orthogonally, like up and down, true up and down, I actually put it on an angle down this angle of the of the helicopter, because I figured why not use some of the features of the helicopter to help me, one, manufacture it, print it, and design it. So one of the things that you'll notice is this door frame, this section of the door frame, there's a rivet line, and then this part of the door are all in the same, right here, here, and here are all in the same plane. So I wanted to utilize that section through there to separate the front and the back, thinking that, hey, if I print this, because this is going to be gigantic, if I print it, I'll print this front section and this back section separately. And then this section, this line here, or that plane here, will fit on the bed. So that'll be the bed, and then it'll print up from there. So it made sense to me at the time. So I'm like, okay, let's do that. And then I only have to print this, I have to print this like this, which is fine, and print the other side like that. So then that should be fine. So I started working on that. And then I got to the point where I started cutting the front windshield glass. And for the life of me, I couldn't get it to look right. The problem being, and again, this is as close as I got. So I actually started finagling with the dimensions of the front and trying to get this to be more bulbous. And then I was messing around with different angles, and it started getting really complicated. And I kept pushing and pushing, trying to get it to work. I cut the doors out to see if maybe I could get the doors to look right. But then the doors look all wonky. They're not at the right angles. This is not at the right angle. And I could, like I said, I can kind of make it work, but I'll know it still isn't good. Like, it still is going to be, it's going to be the dorky cousin of the little bird. It's not going to be a true representative of the little bird. There's going to be something just wrong with it. Can't put a finger on it exactly, but it's just not going to look right. So then I gave up on this one. Actually, I think I only did it 3 times then. So my latest attempt at it, and you can see down my history on all the different things that I've attempted on this thing. So this one has 33 instructions to get it to that far. So then, again, abandon that idea. Let's shut off that. And that's about it. Okay. So then, went back again, back to the drawing board. Tried to figure out, how do I make this shape as cleanly as possible. So started using, this time I used a modeling line called a Bezier curve. And it's up here, it's Bezier's here. So I'm trying to use a Bezier curve, and it's basically a single line to represent this whole arc from here, from tip to stern, right? Or tip to whatever you want to call it. So I use the Bezier curve. The Bezier curve control points are here, here, and here. So now I have the single arc to represent that entire part of the body, instead of 2 and having splits or anything like that. I did another Bezier on the bottom from here to there, and that's another simple curve. Doesn't match exactly to the drawing, but it's close, and it's simple. So that's what I liked about it. Then I did what I fully constrained the drawing. So fully constrained means everything has a measured place for it, so the computer knows exactly where it is. When you leave a drawing unconstrained, then there's things that you can move around. The nice thing about Onshape and Fusion 360 is I think you can still even model in Fusion 360 without a fully constrained drawing. There are modeling programs like FreeCAD and stuff like that where I don't think you can keep going on the model if it's not fully constrained. I could be wrong, but that was my impression. But in practice, it's best to fully constrain your sketches. So I did my best. I think I left something. There's a couple things I need to finish constraining. Though I think these three rib lines, I think I still need to constrain. But I'm doing my best to constrain the drawings as much as possible this time around. So I did those two simple sketches for the top and the bottom. Those are going to be the guide curves for the one big loft I'm going to do um, for the entire fuselage. From there, uh, then I drew a short line out to represent the horizontal. Created a new plane. This time through what I could consider the longest part of the fuselage. So from this tip, slightly angled down. And then what I'm gonna do is instead of modeling exact right to this line here, I'm gonna model it down to a virtual point where like the cone, the teardrop shape of the fuselage should be ish. So I'm gonna model it out to there. So from there, then what did I do? Then I started to draw out planes, section out this thing. So I started to draw out these sections there, 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 and there, and those are going to be the loft planes. Similar to like if you actually watched my video that I did on the Firebat, I had multiple lofting planes for the wings. I'm gonna do lofting planes for the fuselage here. So I did multiple planes. Each plane has a sketch on it. Each of those sketches has a representation of what the cross section of the nose piece, cross section of that angled piece right here, what I want it to look like, sort of the mid fuselage there, oops, and then just before the end, right here where the engine compartment is. And then I drew those out with Bezier curves. So it's a single curve that goes all the way around. I locked this distance here in to a top plane that I made. That top plane is based off of one of the drawings. So this drawing here, I kind of roughly sketched out where each of those widths would end up being. There, and there. And then from there, like I said, each time I made one of these cross sections, I did what's called a pierce command. So basically, I drew this sketch, but through there I had sort of this line of truth where like I know where one single point, it needs to contact one single point all the way through this. So there's a command that you can use called pierce when you're drawing a line, and that it basically is like you're taking a thread and you're piercing through another drawing, and you're making sure that those are in contact with each other from edge to edge. The other thing that I did to this is I added a rib. So I made a rib for the sort of a center rib that goes all the way through. Now, knowing that the aircraft, there is like a center line to the aircraft. And you look at it front on, so there's this, right, this sort of rib that goes kind of right through the top. I might have to cut a hole if I want to put like a rotating propeller, but otherwise, like, it goes all the way through. So I just put like a center rib here that I'm going to use to justify all the other stuff against. So I made that. That was another change that I did. And then I proceeded to make one loft that goes through all of those drawings that I made. And when I did that, I'll shut this off and shut that off. This is the surface I ended up with. So now this surface, when I do zebra striping to it, although it's kind of lumpy here a little bit, but there's no real ugliness like the other attempts at it. So like if I can go through all of it and you won't see. Now you'll see like it's warping a bit, but that's because of the shape of the actual aircraft. But there's no like sharp jumps anywhere. It's all pretty smooth throughout. And I think that's what I want. So when I cut it to put the glass in, all that, I think this should probably give me the best end result. So you can also look at it. They have like a bunch of different analysis tools. So you can look at like curvature. You can look at, I think there's a reflection analysis. So you can see that, you don't get any weird hot spots or any kind of weirdness going on there. It looks pretty good for the most part. I'm actually really happy with this one. The bottom's a little flat and the sides are a little bit flatter, which is what I kind of wanted for it, but it still maintains the overall teardrop shape. Right? It does look like a teardrop, but the sides are much flatter, which would be better for the doors. It matches the drawing much better. It looks better. So I think this is what I'm gonna go with. So although it took a long time to get here, this is what I end up with. A lot of work for not a lot of result, but I'm a lot happier proceeding with a good base to build off of than something that's janky. So from here, the modeling should start to accelerate. Now that I have something that the overall shape I'm happy with. The other thing that I'm much more happy with is because of how I've modeled it, I have more control over the shape. So if I really don't, the other models, I couldn't really tweak out the shape of the surface as well. Whereas this one, now I can really tweak it out. I can take each of these sections and I can pick this section for that matter. And I can tweak out the bottom shape. I can tweak out the top shape. I can tweak out how flat it is here. All of these with just these 3 control points. I can make it look smooth and it shouldn't ruin the surface finish, which is key. So, and I can do that at all the different control sort of areas that I've punched in here. So I can do that. I have that same amount of control over these 3 sections. I have a little bit less control of this one because I didn't put in as many control points on that one. But overall, I have a lot more control over how that surface dips or doesn't dip, or the flatness of it on the side, or how round it is on top. I have a lot more control over that minutia for when I put in the glass, put in the doors, put in the passenger door here, where I need to put supports, where I need to put all those features that sort of sit on a curved surface. I have a lot more general control over all those features, which I'm a lot more happy with. And when you compare this surface to the first surface, you can see here the first surface, it popped out a lot more. It was a lot more round. This one's a lot more flat. So you can see there's again, it's not like it was night and day difference. It's still pretty close, but for modeling, I think it's going to make a big difference. So that one, there's that difference. And then when I look at the other one here, you can see a big difference too. Where, let's put the doors back on so you can see. You can see how much it popped out. It pops out from the surface. Right there. This whole area here pops out. It's a little bit too round, too sort of bulbous compared to the original. Or not the original, the lightest model. You can see there that it should look a lot less janky when I get it done. So if you look at this and look at how well it fits to the drawing, it fits a lot better. There's a little bit of height there. If you look at the right plane and look how well it fits there, it looks like it fits pretty good. I'll just have to cut that off. But again, this whole surface is a lot more mathematically clean than the other versions that I've had. And then the top, again, you can look there. You can go to the top, and you can see the top. It fits fairly well. So I think by the time I finish modeling it, I think it'll look better. Hopefully the figures will fit better, and it'll be a much cleaner overall model when I'm done. So that's all I've got. Hopefully you guys find that somewhat interesting, or I don't know, leave a comment, whatever. Or I'm sure I'll post some more stuff on the Facebook group. Hopefully people sort of pick up on this. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. Have a good day.